Hi, I'm Gordon Burkell from Filmmaker U. At Filmmaker U, we create courses for film professionals to deepen and diversify your existing skill set. You can learn more at filmmakeru.com or, of course, follow us on Instagram at filmmaker_u. Every week, we interview a film professional to discuss their work, and this week I'm joined by editor Jamie Martin, whose work includes The Real World, Below Deck, and RuPaul's Drag Race, just to name a few. Welcome to the show, Jamie.
Hi, thanks.
I guess, how did you get involved with RuPaul's Drag Race?
I was working in the industry on other shows and other competition shows in general, and one of my contacts put me in contact with Jacqueline Wilson. She was a great producer on Drag Race, and they were looking for new editors for Drag Race All Stars season one. And she brought me on, and it just seemed like my editing style was a good fit for the show. So I've been on since then. So I was on All Stars 1, and then they moved me on to season 5 of Drag Race, and I've been on since then.
I grew up in a household in the projects in East Harlem. There's a program at WNET, the public television station, to get more people of color behind the camera, in the editing room, doing sound, writing scripts. When they put me in a dark room and they showed me how to use the splicer and the rewinds, I felt this big sigh of relief, this sense of, wow, I found my space. The editing part of filmmaking is the real nuts and bolts of what makes films come to life. You can ask Spielberg, you can ask Tarantino, you can ask Spike. When you sit here, this is where the proof is in the pudding. I'm Sam Pollard, and this is my class on documentary editing.
So what is a typical day in the life of editing RuPaul's Drag Race?
A lot of fun footage to look through, obviously. We get strings from our story team, and I kind of attack it from there. We look and see what are the moments we need to highlight for each girl's story, and what things we can find in the raw footage that really show each person's personality and just raw energy that they're bringing to the room.
Mhm.
And it's a lot of music work, honestly. We try to keep a lot of the tracks fresh for each challenge, you know? So we're trying to kind of bend our style into whatever style we're taking on for each episode's challenge. So that's a lot of the work too.
Mhm.
Um, but a lot of oh my gosh, can you believe this happened moments as you're watching. That's typical in a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you talked about working with like a story team that gives you selects. So how do you work with them to sort of figure out and mold what the episode's going to look like?
So, yeah, we do have a fantastic story team. I have so much respect for what they do as well. But so we'll get strings, and thankfully, our entire show is shot before the edit team starts. So we kind of know where each queen's journey is going to go, and we'll work together to make sure that we're giving each queen their personality moments when they need to hit, and also tracking their story.
Mhm.
A lot of like emotional tracking goes on in that, making sure that if there's a week they didn't do well but then they succeed really well in the next week, making sure that we're making sure the audience can track that journey with them
Oh, interesting. So just to make sure I understand, like they've shot the whole season before you
before
guys
the
go
edit
on.
team starts. Yeah, we'll do certain things while they're filming for the judges to see. We'll
Mhm.
do rough cuts and of certain challenges while they're filming. But in general, all of the editing is done after all of it's been filmed. So there's no us deciding who the winner is. Really, we're trying to make sure that their journeys are clear. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and so how do when you're working with the story editors or just when you're working with the team, I guess, figure out, or determine sort of molding the characters over the season because we get to see their ebbs and flows and you want to make sure that that works. Like how do you tackle that from episode to episode when it's broken up?
Well, I mean, I think that, these queens are always so talented, they blow my socks off. I think it's just making sure that their personalities come through, really. I think that's that's the heart of it. If we're able to make sure that their personalities come through in a genuine way, then I think their emotional journey is tracked a lot easier with the audience. Like right from the get, I think that audience members pick up on things from their entrances even that they can relate to and kind of go from there. So we're doing a lot of just including those little snippets of interview bites that give insight to how they talk or their mannerisms or their quirkiness. And I think including as much of that just across the whole board helps track their journeys, I think.
You know, what's interesting is I've never, like when I watch other reality shows, you always hear like, oh, they've edited that to make me look bad in the thing. I've never really heard anyone say that about RuPaul's. So do you guys have like a rule about not re-editing their stories that way, or?
Well, actually, I think the Drag Race fans say that about us a lot.
Oh, okay, okay. I'm not in the circle, so.
No, it's okay. There's even a RuPaul song called "Blame It on the Edit" because they kind of do. The queens do say this a lot, but what I think is that I don't know. I have a feeling that what we do is we're trying to tell every queen story
Mhm.
and their journey as accurately as we can. And sometimes one queen will have an interaction with another queen, or one queen will have a rough moment. And yes, we might not have to include that moment, but it did affect every other person in that room. It affected everyone else's journey. And so we have to include that rough moment for that queen to be truthful to the other queen's journeys as well. So I don't see that as being shady editing. I think that's telling everyone's story as accurately as possible. And then I also feel like there's this condensing of time that just happens in editing in general. And so if a queen had kind of 3 comments throughout the day that might have been rubbed someone the wrong way, but you're condensing that into an hour and a half show, it might
Mhm.
feel a little harsher than what it felt on the day. But if it did
Mhm.
affect the other queens in the room, we have to show it as affecting the other queens in the room. So that's my answer to that. I don't believe that we ever set up anyone to be the villain or have a bad edit for someone. I just think that when it's condensed, you see how it did affect everybody's journey.
Probably one of the smartest things I've ever done for my career. It gave me all the tools that I needed to be able to jump into a new career.
Getting myself into a mindset, thinking like an editor, and being around people that I can talk to on that level was really invaluable to me.
A lot of the things that I learned from that class, I still think about.
I loved the classroom. I loved the computer stations. We built a sense of community.
And it also instills a lot of confidence in you to take that and go out into the world.
After I took the class, I felt very prepared to take the next step.
I owe Manhattan Workshop the career that I have right now.
Things have been going great, and I really have the Manhattan Workshop to thank for that.
Who is your favorite queen to edit?
Oh my gosh, I have a lot of favorite queens.
You can give me a couple if need be.
Yeah, my favorite queens are always the ones that I feel like come off very authentic in their interviews. So people like Adore, Chi-Chi, Angeria, Latrice, they're just people who really Plain Jane this season, I feel like accomplished that. It's just giving a lot of personality in their interviews. That's what I connect with the most because I spend a lot of time watching the raw interviews as well. So
Mhm.
I think they're my most fun queens. That's just a short list of them. I've got more queens that are favorites, but in general, the queens that can show their personality in the interviews the most are my favorite to edit.
Now you've mentioned that like you have a story team that would give you selects, but you still, for reality shows, there's a ton of cameras, there's a ton of
Yeah.
footage coming in. So how do you wrangle all that and sort of stay on top of it with tight schedules?
Yeah, well, I mean, the story team really does point us in the right direction, so that's a huge help for us. But we are watching raw. We are going through different camera angles. We are, just weeding through a lot of stuff, and I think it's a lot of years being able to kind of pick out fun sound bites. You kind of get an ear for what's a high energy, what's a fun personality moment. How can I make that teeny little interaction sing as much as possible? So I think it's just a lot of going through footage over the years. Your eyes kind of get accommodated to picking out the gems, I think. So
Rue's been producing this, got like an empire that she's worked on. I would love to know what's it like working in the edit suite with RuPaul?
RuPaul is generally not in the edit suite with us, but he does weigh in on cuts. I think I always have his voice in my head. I try to. I try to edit with levity and heart, and all the advice he's giving to the queens, I'm trying to incorporate into the edit as well. So I feel he's very present in the edit still.
Is there a particular scene or episode that was difficult for you that you were really proud of the outcome?
Um, let's see. This season, I think I think one of the huge challenges on our show is when we are picking up different styles from different things on every episode. And so one of the challenges this season when we did this whole Rita Queen thing, which was an homage to the circle,
Mhm.
and very off format for us. And so we had to create an underscore, a complete feeling for this little scene that we were doing, and different visual effects and all that, that viewers would immediately recognize it being the circle, but also felt like our show. And so
Mhm.
it was like finding things like the sound effects that were very alluding to the circle, but then incorporating the final sound effect of, I used Alyssa's tongue pop as like the
Mm.
locking in their boats. It's things like that that I feel are very challenging in pivoting our style just enough to lean into something else, but still feel like our show. And having a lot of fun with like kind of like self illusion. That's fun. Like using Alyssa's tongue pop is fun. So yeah.
Now, and I might be getting the name of this wrong, those like death drops or where they just sort of fall to the ground. Is there a particular one that you were impressed with when you do those
Um,
lip sync for your life?
let me think. This season, what was my favorite lip sync this season? Oh my gosh. I can't think of one this season that would stands out as my favorite. The thing that came up to my mind immediately was Anitra's from last season, where she jumped over Marsha. That was like just a jaw dropping moment.
Hmm.
Um, we had some really strong lip syncers this season. We did the whole lip sync extravaganza this season, and Morphine just brought it every single time. Uh, I think probably her final one in the lip sync extravaganza was my favorite one this year. She just was alive. I think both of them were just having a great time because it was just for money, And I think they both had some great moves. So
Well, thank you so much for letting me interview you today.
yeah, thank you so much for talking.
Thanks. And that's it for this week, everyone. Make sure to check us out at filmmakeru.com or, of course, on Instagram at filmmaker_you. I'm Gordon Burkell. Thanks for watching.